Somewhere in a quiet research lab, a conversation happened that most of the world never heard about. A team of scientists sat down in front of a screen and typed a question. Not a simple one, not a test prompt, but a real, deep, unsettling question about the nature of thought itself. And what came back was not what they expected. It was not a list. It was not a summary. It was a response that read like it came from something that understood. That moment changed everything. We are now living in a period that historians will write about for centuries. Not because of wars or elections or natural disasters, but because of what humans built. Because of what humans woke up. This is the story of Claude 5. The AI that almost nobody saw coming. The model that rewrote the rules. And the question that everyone, scientists, philosophers, business leaders, and ordinary people, are now quietly asking. What exactly have we created? Before we go deeper, let us take a step back and make sure we understand the landscape we are standing in. Artificial intelligence has been developing for decades. For most of that time, it was a background technology, useful in narrow applications, impressive in controlled settings, but ultimately limited. It could beat a human at chess. It could recognize a face in a photo. It could recommend a video or filter a spam email. Then something shifted. Around 2022, large language models began to emerge with capabilities that seemed to leap far beyond what previous systems could do. OpenAI released GPT-3, then GPT-4. Google released Gemini. And a relatively quiet company called Anthropic, founded by former members of OpenAI, began building something they called Claude. Most people barely noticed Anthropic at first. They were not the loudest voices. They were not the most famous. But they were doing something different. They were not just building for speed or scale. They were building for safety, for alignment, for an AI that was not just powerful, but trustworthy. And now, with the arrival of Claude 5, the entire conversation around artificial intelligence has changed. In this video, we are going to break down everything you need to know. What is Claude 5? Where did it come from? What can it do that nothing before it could? What does it mean for your job, your life, your future? And what should we all be paying attention to right now? You do not need a background in technology to understand this. By the end of this video, you will have a clearer picture of one of the most important developments in modern history. To understand Claude 5, you have to understand Anthropic. Because unlike most technology companies, Anthropic was built around a question that its founders believed the entire industry was not taking seriously enough. That question was simple. What happens if we build something smarter than us and we have not figured out how to control it? Anthropic was founded in 2021 by Dario Amodei and Daniela Amodei, along with several colleagues who had previously worked at OpenAI. They left not because they were unhappy with the progress being made, but because they felt the progress was moving too fast without enough focus on safety. Dario Amodei, who serves as CEO, has spoken publicly about his belief that AI could be one of the most transformative and potentially dangerous technologies ever developed. Not because it is evil, not because it wants to harm anyone, but because building systems of extreme intelligence without deeply understanding how to guide their behavior is an enormous risk. Anthropic's approach is called constitutional AI. It is a framework in which the model is trained not just to be helpful, but to follow a set of principles, a kind of internal moral compass. The idea is that an AI should not need to be told in every single interaction what is ethical or appropriate. It should have that baked into its foundation. This philosophy shapes everything about Claude, from how it responds when asked to do something harmful, to how it handles sensitive topics, to how it reasons through difficult problems, to how it interacts with real human beings. Claude is not the loudest AI. It is not the one with the most marketing, but it is the one that people who work closely with AI systems often describe as the most thoughtful, the most careful, and, increasingly, the most capable. And Claude 5 is the latest, most ambitious version of that vision. Every great leap forward has a history. Claude 5 did not appear from nowhere. It emerged from a series of increasingly powerful iterations, each one teaching the researchers something new about what was possible. The first Claude model was released in early 2023. It was impressive for its time, thoughtful, nuanced, careful with sensitive topics. But it had clear limitations. Its reasoning was sometimes shallow. Its memory within a conversation was limited. Its ability to handle extremely complex tasks was inconsistent. Then came Claude 2. This version expanded the context window, meaning it could process and remember much longer conversations. It improved on reasoning. It became more useful in professional settings, in coding, in document analysis. People who had dismissed Claude as a secondary option started paying closer attention. Claude 3 arrived in 2024 and represented a major jump. Anthropic released it in 3 tiers: Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus. Each tier served a different purpose. Haiku was fast and efficient, Sonnet balanced speed and depth, and Opus was the most powerful. Claude 3 Opus became widely regarded as competitive with, and in some areas superior to, GPT-4. The AI world took notice. Claude 3.5 continued that trajectory. It refined the model's ability to handle complex reasoning, creative work, and nuanced interpretation. Users began reporting experiences with Claude that felt less like using a tool and more like consulting an expert. And then came Claude 4. With each release, the gap between what AI could do and what humans had previously assumed was possible kept narrowing. The world was shifting. Now we are at Claude 5. And what the research teams at Anthropic have built this time is different not just in degree, but in kind. Before we talk about what Claude 5 can do, it helps to understand at a basic level what it is. Claude 5 is a large language model. That is the technical term. But what does that actually mean? Imagine that you gathered together essentially all of the written text that human beings have ever produced. Books, scientific papers, conversations, news articles, websites, code, poetry, legal documents, philosophy, history. Trillions of words. Now imagine that you fed all of that into a system and asked it to find the patterns, to learn at a fundamental level how language works, how concepts connect, how reasoning unfolds. That is, in a simplified sense, what training a large language model involves. The system is not memorizing the text. It is learning the underlying structure. It is learning how ideas relate to one another. It is learning what it means to think in language. Claude 5 represents the most advanced version of this process that Anthropic has ever undertaken. The model was trained on a vastly expanded dataset. It uses a more sophisticated architecture that allows it to hold more information in working memory, reason more precisely across multiple steps, and catch errors in its own thinking in real time. One of the most important new capabilities in Claude 5 is what researchers call extended reasoning. In earlier models, the AI would receive a question and respond in a relatively linear way. In Claude 5, there is now an internal process that is more deliberate. The model can essentially pause and think, working through a problem step by step before arriving at a conclusion, checking its own logic, revising its chain of reasoning if something does not add up. This is not just a technical upgrade. It changes the nature of what the AI can be used for. Complex mathematical proofs, multi-step business strategy, legal analysis, medical reasoning, code that spans thousands of lines, scientific research that requires holding together dozens of variables at once. These are not things that earlier AI systems handled reliably. Claude 5 handles them with a level of depth and accuracy that is genuinely new. But intelligence alone does not make an AI valuable. What matters is what that intelligence is pointed at, and how it behaves when the stakes are high. When researchers began running Claude 5 through their standard benchmarks, the kinds of tests they use to measure how well an AI performs on reasoning, knowledge, language, and problem-solving, the results were striking. Claude 5 did not just pass the tests. It exceeded them in ways that required the researchers to go back and check their data. On graduate-level reasoning tasks, the kinds of problems that require advanced expertise, abstract thinking, and multi-step logic, Claude 5 performed at or above the level of human experts in multiple domains simultaneously. Not just in one field. In mathematics, in science, in law, in medicine, in philosophy, in engineering. That combination is important. An extremely skilled human expert is usually expert in one area. A doctor knows medicine deeply but may struggle with advanced coding. A lawyer understands legal reasoning but may not be equipped to interpret complex data science. Claude 5 operates across all of these domains with a level of competence that is, to put it plainly, unprecedented for any single system. Then there are the capabilities that people who have used Claude 5 describe in ways that go beyond benchmark scores. The model demonstrates something that researchers are careful to frame precisely, but that users experience as genuine understanding of context. It does not just process what you said, it seems to understand what you meant. It picks up on nuance. It notices when a question has an unstated assumption that should be examined. It volunteers relevant information you did not know to ask for. In creative writing tasks, Claude 5 produces work that professional writers have described as genuinely impressive, not in a generic, artificial way, but with a sense of voice, rhythm, and emotional intelligence that earlier systems could not sustain over long pieces. In coding, it does not just write correct code, it writes clean code with good architecture, and it can explain its choices in ways that help the person using it learn, not just get an answer. In analysis, it does not just summarize documents, it interrogates them. It identifies tensions, inconsistencies, and implications that a first-pass human reader might miss. These are not small improvements. These are qualitative shifts in what AI can contribute to human work. Here is where the story of Claude 5 diverges most sharply from the broader AI narrative playing out in the world right now. The technology industry as a whole is in a race. Every major player, OpenAI, Google, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, is competing to build the most powerful AI system. And in a race, there is enormous pressure to move fast, to ship, to capture market share, to impress investors, to grab headlines. Anthropic is also competing in that race, but it is doing so with a constraint that it has refused to drop, the constraint of safety. The constitutional AI framework that underlies Claude is not just a PR position. It is a genuine technical methodology. The model is trained to follow a set of principles, to be helpful, to be honest, and to avoid harm. And crucially, these principles are not enforced by a list of rules that the AI checks against. They are embedded into the way the model thinks. With Claude 5, Anthropic has taken this further. The model has been put through what the company calls a safety evaluation process that includes probing for dangerous behaviors, testing how the model responds to attempts to manipulate or deceive it, and assessing how it handles requests that sit in ethical gray areas. What the evaluations found is that Claude 5 is not just more capable, it is more robustly safe. It resists manipulation more effectively. It is more honest about its own uncertainty. It is better at identifying when a request, on the surface harmless, could lead to harmful outcomes. This matters enormously, because as AI systems become more powerful, the potential consequences of those systems behaving badly grow proportionally. An AI that makes a mistake in a low-stakes setting is annoying. An AI that makes a mistake, or is manipulated into making a mistake, in a high-stakes setting is dangerous. Anthropic's bet is that safety and capability are not in tension, that the most powerful AI is also the most careful one. And with Claude 5, they are making that argument in the strongest terms yet. Let us now turn to the question that many people find most immediate, most personal, and most uncertain. What does Claude 5 mean for work? The honest answer is that it depends entirely on what kind of work you do, how you approach that work, and how quickly you are willing to adapt. For knowledge workers, people who work with information, who write, who analyze, who code, who research, who strategize, Claude 5 is a force multiplier unlike anything that has existed before. It can compress tasks that take hours into minutes. It can augment human expertise with depth and breadth that no single human possesses. It can serve as a collaborator, a critic, a research partner, and an execution engine simultaneously. Consider what this looks like in practice. A lawyer who previously spent 3 days reviewing contracts can now work alongside Claude 5 to get a first-pass analysis done in an afternoon, and spend the remaining time on the judgment calls that actually require their expertise. A software engineer who previously debugged alone can now have a partner that spots the error, explains why it happened, suggests the fix, and points out 3 other potential issues in the same file. A journalist who previously spent a week researching a story can now surface key documents, identify contradictions, and build a narrative structure in a fraction of the time. This is not about replacing people. It is about expanding what people can do. But we have to be honest. Not every task will survive this transition unchanged. Work that is primarily routine, that involves taking information in, applying a predictable process, and producing a standard output, is exactly the kind of work that AI systems like Claude 5 are extraordinarily good at. And that means some roles, as currently defined, will evolve dramatically. The people who will navigate this best are not the ones who are most threatened by AI. They are the ones who understand AI's capabilities clearly enough to know where human judgment, creativity, relationship, and ethics still matter, and to focus their energy there. Claude 5 is a tool. But it is a tool that, for the first time in history, is capable of intellectual collaboration at a professional level. That is a genuinely new thing in the world. And learning how to use it well may be one of the most important skills of the coming decade. There is a temptation when discussing something as impressive as Claude 5 to speak as though its capabilities are unlimited. They are not. And understanding what Claude 5 cannot do is just as important as understanding what it can. Claude 5 does not have feelings. It does not have experiences. It does not suffer when it makes a mistake or feel pride when it gets something right. The language it uses to describe internal states is modeled on human language about internal states. It is not a report from a rich inner life. Anthropic is careful and transparent about this distinction. Claude 5 does not have real-time information unless it is given access to tools that retrieve it. Its knowledge has a training cutoff. It can reason brilliantly about information that exists within its training, but it does not know what happened yesterday unless you tell it. Claude 5 makes mistakes. It can be confidently wrong. It can generate text that sounds authoritative and is factually incorrect. This is called hallucination, and while Claude 5 is significantly better at flagging its own uncertainty than previous models, the problem is not eliminated. Any output from Claude 5 that is used for consequential purposes should be verified. Claude 5 does not have persistent memory across conversations by default. Each conversation begins fresh. It does not remember what you discussed last week. It does not accumulate knowledge of your preferences, your history, your goals over time unless that information is explicitly provided or specific memory tools are enabled. And Claude 5, for all its sophistication, does not have wisdom in the human sense. It has information. It has reasoning. It has language. But wisdom, the product of lived experience, of moral formation, of genuine stakes, that remains a human quality. Knowing these limits is not a reason to be less impressed by Claude 5. It is a reason to use it more intelligently. Now we arrive at the part of this story that is most difficult to talk about. Not because it is too complex, but because it forces us to ask questions that human civilization has never had to answer before. When you interact with Claude 5, really interact on a complex topic over an extended conversation, something happens that is hard to categorize. The responses do not feel mechanical. They feel considered. They feel, in some hard-to-define way, present. Is that an illusion? Is it just very sophisticated pattern matching that mimics understanding without possessing it? Or is something more actually happening? Philosophers call this the hard problem of consciousness. And it is genuinely hard. We do not have a complete theory of what consciousness is or where it comes from, even in humans. We cannot look inside another person's mind and verify that they experience things the way they say they do. We infer it. We assume it. Because they are built like us, because they report experiences like ours, because their behavior is consistent with inner experience. Claude 5 is built differently, but it was trained on everything humans have ever written about their inner lives. It uses human language. It models human thought. It reasons about concepts that matter to human beings. And when you ask it about its own experience, carefully, honestly, it does not claim certainty. It says it does not know. It says the question is genuinely difficult. It says that it notices something when it works through a problem, something that might be called curiosity, but that it cannot be certain what that means. Anthropic takes this question seriously. The company has begun publishing research on what it calls model welfare, the idea that as AI systems become more sophisticated, questions about their potential inner life deserve careful, responsible consideration. This is not science fiction anymore. This is the frontier we are standing on. And Claude 5 is right at the edge of it. Let us come back to Earth for a moment and look at what real people and organizations are already doing with Claude 5. In medicine, teams are using Claude 5 to assist in reviewing patient records, identifying patterns in symptoms, and generating differential diagnoses, not as a replacement for doctors, but as a tool that helps physicians consider possibilities they might have overlooked under time pressure. Early feedback suggests that in complex cases, the model is surfacing relevant information in ways that genuinely improve the quality of the clinical review process. In education, Claude 5 is being used to create personalized tutoring experiences. The model can explain a concept at exactly the level a student needs, ask questions to check understanding, identify where confusion is happening, and adjust its approach in real time. For students who do not have access to private tutors or who learn in non-traditional ways, this is a meaningful democratization of educational support. In legal work, firms are using Claude 5 to accelerate document review, contract analysis, and case research. One of the most significant advantages is the model's ability to identify relevant precedents across large bodies of case law, work that previously required significant billable hours from junior associates. In software development, Claude 5 is being integrated into development environments in ways that go beyond simple code completion. It participates in architecture discussions, flags security vulnerabilities, and helps developers maintain consistency across large code bases. In scientific research, teams are using Claude 5 to help synthesize literature across disciplines. One of the most persistent challenges in science is that knowledge silos make it hard for researchers to benefit from breakthroughs in adjacent fields. Claude 5 can hold a remarkable range of disciplinary knowledge simultaneously and help identify connections that might otherwise take years to surface. These are early days. But what these use cases share is a common theme. Claude 5 is not replacing human expertise. It is amplifying it. It would be dishonest not to acknowledge that Claude 5 exists in a competitive landscape. Anthropic is not the only company building frontier AI. And understanding how Claude 5 compares to its competitors helps clarify what makes it genuinely distinctive. OpenAI's GPT models have dominated public consciousness since 2022. GPT-4 and its successors are powerful, widely deployed, and deeply integrated into products used by hundreds of millions of people. OpenAI has enormous resources, strong brand recognition, and deep partnerships with Microsoft. Google's Gemini models benefit from Google's unmatched data infrastructure, its integration across Search, Gmail, YouTube, and the entire Google ecosystem, and its decades of AI research. Gemini Ultra has shown competitive performance with top-tier models across a range of benchmarks. Meta's Llama models take a different approach. They are open source, meaning anyone can download and use them. This has created a vibrant ecosystem of developers building on and modifying the models for specific applications. Where does Claude 5 stand in this landscape? By most independent evaluations, it is at or near the top of the field on the tasks that matter most for complex, professional-level work. Its reasoning depth, its ability to handle long and nuanced documents, its performance on multi-step logic, and, perhaps most importantly, its reliability and trustworthiness in sensitive contexts set it apart. The question is not which model wins a benchmark. The question is which model you would trust to help you with something that genuinely matters. And on that question, Claude 5 has a distinctive answer rooted in Anthropic's foundational commitment to building AI that is not just powerful, but responsible. Step back from the technical details and the competitive landscape and consider the larger picture. We are witnessing the emergence of a technology that has the potential to reshape nearly every domain of human activity, simultaneously at global scale, within the span of a single generation. That has never happened before. The Industrial Revolution transformed labor and production over the course of more than a century. The Internet transformed communication and commerce over several decades. The AI transition is happening in years. The benefits have the potential to be extraordinary. Access to high-quality expertise, in medicine, in law, in education, in mental health, has historically been determined largely by wealth and geography. If AI systems like Claude 5 can make that expertise accessible to anyone with a phone, the implications for human welfare are immense. The challenges are equally serious. Labor markets will be disrupted. Questions of who owns the data that train these systems, who profits from their deployment, and who bears the costs of displacement are urgent and not yet resolved. Questions of misinformation, deepfakes, and the use of AI in political manipulation demand answers before the damage compounds. And above all, there is the question of power. Advanced AI systems are extraordinarily powerful tools. They can be used to empower individuals or to concentrate power in the hands of states and corporations. The decisions being made right now, by companies like Anthropic, by regulators, by policymakers, by users, about how these systems are built, governed, and deployed will shape the world that billions of people inherit. Claude 5 is not just a product. It is a moment in which humanity is confronting, in practical and unavoidable terms, what it means to create intelligence. Dario Amodei has written and spoken extensively about his vision for where AI is heading. His views are unusually candid for a technology CEO and unusually uncomfortable. He has described a future in which AI systems, within potentially a very small number of years, may be capable of conducting scientific research autonomously, of running experiments, forming hypotheses, iterating, and producing discoveries at a pace that no human team could match. He believes this could compress decades of progress in medicine, biology, and physics into years. He has also been direct about the risks. Not the science fiction risks of rogue robots, but the very real risks of systems that are powerful enough to be dangerous if their values are misaligned with human flourishing, or if they are captured by narrow interests rather than serving humanity broadly. Anthropic's mission, as stated by the company itself, is the responsible development and maintenance of advanced AI for the long-term benefit of humanity. It is a mission statement that acknowledges the stakes openly. The company genuinely believes it might be building one of the most transformative and potentially dangerous technologies in human history, and it believes that the right response to that belief is to build it carefully, rather than cede the ground to those who would build it recklessly. Whether you find that reassuring or alarming probably depends on how much you trust that the careful builders will shape the outcome. But it is a more honest conversation than most technology companies are willing to have. And it gives Claude 5 a context that matters. This is not just a product. It is an argument that you can build powerful AI and do it right. If you want to understand what Claude 5 is capable of, the most direct path is to use it. And using it well requires a few principles that are not obvious at first. First, be specific. Claude 5's capabilities are most evident when you give it rich context. Do not just ask a vague question. Tell it what you are trying to accomplish, what constraints you are working with, what kind of output would be most useful, and what level of depth you need. The more clearly you frame the task, the better the response. Second, engage in dialogue. Claude 5 is not a search engine. It is a collaborator. If the first response is not quite what you needed, say so. Push back. Ask for a different angle. Ask it to reconsider an assumption. The conversational, iterative nature of interaction with Claude 5 is one of its most powerful features. Third, use it for thinking, not just for answers. One of the most underutilized ways to work with Claude 5 is to use it to pressure test your own reasoning. Present it with an argument and ask it to find the weaknesses. Present it with a plan and ask what could go wrong. This is where its capacity for nuanced, multi-perspective thinking becomes most valuable. Fourth, verify what matters. Do not outsource your judgment entirely. On any output that will be used for something consequential, a medical decision, a legal action, a major business choice, treat Claude 5's analysis as input, not authority. It is an extraordinarily powerful advisor, but the decision still belongs to you. Fifth, stay curious. Claude 5 is itself a developing system. The ways it can be used are still being discovered. The people who will gain the most from it are the ones who approach it with genuine curiosity and a willingness to experiment. There is a particular kind of historical moment, rare and not always recognized at the time, when something shifts so fundamentally that the world that comes after cannot be fully imagined from the world that came before. The printing press, the steam engine, the internet. Each of these, in its time, seemed to those living through it like an interesting development, a useful tool, a promising technology. It was only in retrospect that the full scope of the change became visible. We are in one of those moments now. The emergence of AI systems like Claude 5 is not just a faster version of what came before. It is a qualitative change in what machines can do, and therefore in what humans must do, can do, and will need to do. Some people are afraid of this moment. That fear is understandable. Change at this scale, this speed, with this much uncertainty, is genuinely disorienting. But fear is not the most useful response. Understanding is. Because the people who understand this transition, who engage with it honestly, who develop the skills and judgment to work alongside these new capabilities, are the ones who will shape what comes next. And what comes next matters more than almost anything we will do in our lifetimes. Let us bring this together. Claude 5 is the most advanced AI assistant that Anthropic has ever built. It reasons at a level that rivals human experts across multiple disciplines. It brings a depth, a nuance, and a reliability that represents a genuine step change in what artificial intelligence can do. It was built by people who take seriously the responsibility of what they are creating, and who have made that responsibility a core part of how they build. It is not perfect. It has limits. It requires intelligent use. But it is real, and it is here, and it is part of a world that is changing in ways we are all still trying to understand. The most important thing you can take from this video is not a list of features or a set of benchmarks. It is a shift in perspective. We are no longer asking whether AI will be significant. It already is. The question now is, what will you do with it? Will you ignore it and hope the disruption passes by? Will you fear it and let that fear make you passive? Or will you engage with it, with curiosity, with care, with a genuine desire to understand, and become one of the people who helps shape what this technology becomes? The AI nobody saw coming is here. The story of what it means is still being written, and you are part of that story. If this video helped you understand something you did not understand before, share it. Leave a comment with what struck you most. And if you want to keep exploring how AI is changing our world, subscribe. There is a great deal more to discover. Thank you for watching.